Well, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when a major earthquake will hit San Diego. And there's a new study that was just unveiled. The National Earthquake Conference shows that an earthquake could have devastating consequences here.
When I came to study in San Diego, I was told this is the best part of California because it isn't affected by the San Andreas Fault. Well, I felt really good about that. But then later on, we learned the San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded in the southern part, which could have ripple effects because from the San Andreas Fault, there's so many other local fault lines. But San Diego was never on the list like major destruction from any earthquake. Never. The Californians, they're primed for speculation and fears of the big one or when the big one inevitably will shake the state. That big one is characterized by experts to be probably something like a magnitude 7.8 earthquake above or along the San Andreas Fault. Such an event is likely to be 44 times more powerful than the 1994 Northridge, Los Angeles earthquake, which has ended more than 60 people and injured upwards of 9,000 people. So what is San Diego's risk for a, how they call it, scenario earthquake? It is at risk. That is what is so stunning and what many people do not know. The infamous San Andreas Fault, no, it doesn't run through San Diego. But the Rose Canyon Fault, have you heard of that before? It runs alongside the northern San Diego County coast. It comes inland around La Jolla, beautiful beaches, beautiful homes, upscale neighborhood, the best in San Diego if you ask me. And then it extends under downtown San Diego and it winds up offshore again to Imperial Beach. Scientists from the San Diego State University have determined that the system could generate a magnitude 6.5 to 6.8 earthquake every 700 years, refuting earlier research that indicated that such quakes only occur every 1,000 to 1,500 years. And prior to 1990, the Rose Canyon Fault was believed to be inactive. That's why everyone felt safe in San Diego. But they have evidence. They have evidence about the history of earthquakes in San Diego. I don't know if you've ever been there. There's a part of San Diego, it's called Old Town. It's basically the early settlement, long-standing history. This is now a tourist attraction. It's basically lots of Mexican restaurants and little stores decorated. You still can enter the historic old buildings. In some of the buildings, there's little stores like candy stores. Absolutely beautiful. It's a nice stroll. The food is fantastic. I was there so many times. I really, really love Old Town San Diego. The trolley goes there from downtown, so it's an easy way to get there. But something dangerous is there. Some dangerous evidence, because you can see the history of ruptures in the soil of Old Town. And that's telling the story, and that told the scientists the story. The researchers also found evidence at one site in Old Town that the fault has produced at least 2 additional quakes in between magnitude 5.6 in recent centuries. And I'll get to why this is so dangerous for San Diego. You might say 5 or 6, yeah, that's not too bad. Wait a minute, wait until I get there, guys, because trembling of that magnitude, likely that's what they're saying, wouldn't break the surface again, the surface of the ground. But it could cause liquefaction in San Diego and Mission Bay, another beautiful area with beaches and inline skating and beach houses. The seismologists have dug a trench on the Presidio Hills golf course, and then they have studied the sediment for traces of past earthquakes. They found that a major quake had occurred before the mission San Diego de Alcala was founded in 1769. But there's more to the vulnerability of San Diego.
Well, Greg, that study found that if a major earthquake were to strike along the Rose Canyon Fault, more than 120,000 buildings throughout the city, including many right there in downtown San Diego, would be damaged, 8,000 of them beyond repair.
So during a national earthquake conference that was taking place in San Diego, many scientists came together, and the nation's top earthquake experts, and they have unveiled an updated earthquake scenario for San Diego. The Earthquake Engineering Research Institute has looked at the impact of a magnitude 6.9 earthquake that is possible along the Rose Canyon Fault. The Rose Canyon Fault was a very big concern for the study because basically it runs through the urban core of San Diego. And unfortunately, guys, the study found that a quake of that magnitude would cause widespread damage. In addition to that liquefaction problem in certain areas, they're saying that, quote, we have about 120,000 buildings that through our estimates could be damaged after a future earthquake at the Rose Canyon Fault. We've also found that there's about 38 billion estimated of financial loss that could occur to San Diego. The study did not look at each individual buildings, but they said especially buildings built prior to 1990 are especially at risk because they thought that fault is dormant. So they didn't have special codes that you have to build earthquake safe. I mean, LA, San Francisco, they're preparing for the big one and they're updating their codes, and yet still they have so many old masonry buildings that are very vulnerable to these earthquakes. Same for the big one, the Cascadia earthquake, Seattle, Portland, Victoria, Vancouver. A lot of buildings will collapse. So 1990, if these buildings are at risk, there's many buildings that have been built during that period. After 1990, they have updated their building codes. So new construction had to be built to higher standards. The study could not predict, of course, when we will see an earthquake at the Rose Canyon Fault. But what the scientists and what they all agree on, they say it's only a matter of time. And they're saying, quote, we chose this particular scenario, but it's not the only earthquake that can happen in San Diego. And we want San Diego to be better prepared and to invest now to prevent damage for any earthquake that could happen in the region. The Rose Canyon Fault or another fault. I'm wondering, how about bridges, highway bridges, stuff like this, and the Coronado Bridge that always gives me shivers when I drive around it. I always try to be in the middle lane. I don't want to look over the edge because I don't know. I don't think that the protection barriers are high enough. I don't know. I drove over it with an RV once, like a bigger RV, and yeah, that wasn't really so nice. But Coronado Island is super, super nice if you've ever been there. So the Rose Canyon Fault is not only more active than scientists previously thought, it's also larger than they thought, which is equally as bad when it runs underneath a big city like San Diego. So since it cuts in from the ocean to land in the La Jolla neighborhood, that leaves the University of San Diego campus and the community that is there at risk of disturbance, how they call it, by seismic activity. If it's only a disturbance and not a destruction, that I'd be happy about that. What they also know is that in 1862, it has produced a magnitude 6.2. And to make it clear, they're pretty sure it's capable of producing an earthquake up to magnitude 7. What they're saying right now, there's an 18 to 20% probability of a magnitude 6.7 or larger earthquake occurring in the next 25 years. In the next 25 years. That's a short time frame. And we could see smaller earthquakes, as we just heard, that also could cause a lot of damage if it's a magnitude 5 or 6 and we see the liquefaction. So the government outlines what would happen to the city in the event of a scenario earthquake, how they call it, a magnitude 6.9 that would occur on the Rose Canyon Fault. So coastal communities stretching from La Jolla to the Silver Strand may be cut off from nearly all lifeline, utility, and infrastructure services. Water, wastewater, gas, electricity, everything that's west of the fault rupture zone is estimated to be out for several months. This is how widespread and intense this destruction would be. We're not talking about days or weeks here, months. Further, they're estimating that there will be significant damage to transportation along the I-5. That's the Interstate 5, basically connects from California all along the west coast up into Canada, British Columbia. So they say significant damage to the highway, to the bridges of the highway, and to the San Diego International Airport. That airport is right downtown. You're basically standing downtown, and then for me, the first time I saw a plane coming in, I thought it's crashing into the high rises. I was really scared. Also affected the port of San Diego. There's a lot of military in that area. Navy, the Department of Defense installations that are in the area, and over 100,000 residential homes at least, plus more institutional homes, schools, churches, all that. They also expect fires in the city caused by gas breaks. So that is not a good outlook, I have to say. So since San Diego knows about the threat of severe infrastructure damage, it has, of course, influenced them to install stricter building regulations. The California Geological Survey is outlining development zones that are expected, that were implemented in late 2021. These new measures require developers to provide proof of new structures being a safe distance away from the fault. So they don't want to build on the fault anymore. But I mentioned it, University of California, San Diego. This sounds scary, guys. They say that more than half of the campus buildings pose a significant, a serious risk to life. There's an online database available for those who are interested if you're sending your kids to that university. It's online, it's available, you can check it out, which building, which hall is how stable and at which risk. And here is something very interesting, guys. What else could influence earthquakes in California? What could lubricate the faults? It's a potential influential factor for earthquakes in California. And that sounds crazy. It is oil drilling, guys. Oil field wastewater is known to increase earthquake frequency. Did you know that? This was shown in a study that was already conducted in 2019. It showed that wastewater is actually penetrating the earth deeper than originally thought, which increases the frequency of higher magnitude earthquakes. They call them frackquakes from fracking, right? We see these earthquakes in other states where fracking is happening. We see this in Texas, but there's lots of that in California. If you look at the Google Earth pictures, and if you know what to look out for, then you're like, I was shocked. I was really shocked. For those of you who came over to my channel from Dutch, I watched once a video, I think about a year ago from him, where he was talking about some earthquakes, but then he was zooming in on fracking sites in California. And basically he explained what they look like. And I looked at this and then I was zooming all over the US, and I'm like, wow, that is intense. Absolutely intense. So frackquakes, interesting name, but it's not so funny. We hear them Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. But a University of California Santa Cruz researcher associated a 2005 swarm of earthquakes in the Central Valley in California with wastewater disposal activity of fracking. Of course, they're rare in frequency when we compare them to tectonic seismicity. But in light of potential earthquakes in the future, these outdated infrastructures and other possible scenarios, it is important to remember that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So I thought that's interesting for you guys. Like the video if you did like that, but watch what's going on in the end screen. Mount Rainier in Washington is having an earthquake cluster swarm. 3 over magnitude 2 already. That's for a volcano quite significant. Check out the video in the end screen if you wanted to know what's going on. There was a recent update today from the USGS spot. Japan. Lots of stuff is going on. Campi Flegrei, you should subscribe, guys. If you like what you see and if you want to buy me a coffee, check out the link in the description. Leave me a message. I'll answer you with a 30-second video message. We can chat with each other or click the join button, become a supporting member of the channel. Lots of behind the scene videos. And thanks for the supers here. Thanks for watching. Stay away from the earthquakes, guys. I see you very, very soon. Click here, the video in the end screen, please. Then I see you there. Bye-bye.